For more information on my programs, please visit massajadi.com. That's MASSAJADY.com. Hello, this is Masati. Welcome to my podcast, Xponential Intelligence. This is episode 131, On Purpose. As a note, sometimes I just get into the mood, connect to pure source, and just start rambling. This is one of those times, and I just want to record it just the way I see it or just the way I sense it. So, although it's not of linear fashion, pure source or consciousness that we tap into is never of, say, linear fashion. And perhaps I should do a podcast on, say, the true method of learning. This is more of a mind map. It's more 3 or 4 or 5 dimensional knowledge or intuition that comes through for me. And again, maybe I should do a podcast on, say, my abilities or how it comes in. So if you have any questions about my abilities, what I do, who I am, what my purpose is, drop me a line, drop me an email, Masei, M-A-S-E-I, Masei at massajadi.com. And what we're going to do is I'll guide you into a higher level of consciousness. And if you're new to me, welcome. I would suggest listening to podcasts, any other podcast, perhaps from 50 on up, to get a better taste of what I do. But again, if you're new, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome as well. And what I do, or what we'll do, is I'll help you tap into a higher level of consciousness on what purpose means from a true definition. Okay? And by I mean a true definition is, say, the ultimate truth of purpose. Okay? And what I mean by that ultimate truth is that there's only one definition for pretty much anything or everything. There is only, say, one absolute truth. Okay? The reason why there's always, say, exceptions to the rule is that, well, we haven't gotten to that one single truth. Exponential intelligence allows us to tap into the higher realms where, again, we operate from that one single truth. And that's where the mind knowledge comes in. As a note, I might not practice that knowledge that comes in, because if it's that one single truth, we have to be distorted at some level to remain in human identity. So, and I can explain that in detail some other time as well. So again, if you have questions, Masei at massajadi.com. Hopefully they'll bring out, say, thoughts for you. So, with that in mind, we'll just jump into a meta healing. And a meta healing is where I guide you into a deep state of meditation, far beyond hypnosis, meditation, normal meditation, NLP, or anything that we've done physically. And then two, as you're in that deeper state, I help you reprogram you at your source code. In this case, helping us understand what true purpose or the definition of purpose is in the human psyche or the human consciousness, or what it's created for. So whether you're sitting, standing, lying down, getting comfortable, any way that you'd like, preferably standing up, especially if you're new, just to break away from those old patterns. And then noticing your breath, noticing how you inhale. And we'll inhale as a group, inhaling from the nose, nice slow 4 count or whatever sequence of numbers that you choose, holding that breath. And then on the exhale, a slower exhale for us, longer than the inhale. Let's try that again. Strong deep breath in, inhaling through the nose, nice and deep. Holding. And then releasing, letting go. Again, nice and slow, discipline. Acknowledging the other people that may be listening at the exact same time as you or any other time. Again, a ton of people. So we're going to use that momentum that large groups of individuals create, called the mastermind, to help us even go further, much deeper, break through some of those walls that we identify with, right, that block us into understanding our true purpose. Another strong deep breath in again. Again, inhaling through the nose, holding, and then releasing, letting go. Settling in, settling into our body, perhaps noticing our chest, the sternum bone, the bone that connects the ribs together right in front, and noticing it from the collarbone right down into the sternum, into the solar plexus where your ribs connect. Just noticing that area as you may note your upper spine relaxing as the muscles release its tension from the top of the back, muscles of the mid back, the lower back, right down into the buttocks and lower into the legs, thighs, calves, and right out the feet. Noticing how you're feeling. And noticing your body. Noticing the space around you. As we ask ourselves, taking a breath in, how do I connect to pure source even stronger? Nothing spiritual or religious about it. You're asking, how do I become my limitless self? So either question, same result. Again, settling in, noticing our body complete. In today's society, purpose, we always talk about purpose, right? You have to have a goal or a purpose or something to shoot for. And then most of us run around in circles trying to find that one purpose that really, say, satisfies us. But how many people really find that purpose that really satisfies us? For just tapping into, say, the world consciousness, not many. I would say the numbers are very minimal. It's tapping in maybe less than, say, 3% of the population. I would even fathom about 1% or maybe even less of the individuals living here on Earth or at any time in history. So 1 to 3% actually knowing their purpose in life. It's, staggering statistics. Again, it's not scientific data, but just tapping into, say, the higher consciousness where I get my information. That's the number I see. And why so small? If you would think, or again, as I continue to work on you, but again, a lot of new people working on you, basically helping you clarify who you are, removing the filters of who you think you are by the frequencies that I generate wherever you are, right, through this podcast, to help you understand you at a higher level. Again, a clear definition of who you are. That's what working on you means. As a note, as you understand a clear definition of who you are, well, this is where you become healthier. You become more abundant in 360 degrees. Finances, health, relationships, anything that you call life, you become better at. So notice what you're feeling. Getting back to the statistic, or getting back to the numbers, again, very low numbers compared to the billions of people here on Earth. And why so low? Because in today's society, we breed inconsistency or distortion. In today's society, and again, it might be getting away from the subject of purpose, but like I said earlier, this is just a tapping of the consciousness. It's maybe what we need to hear, or what the audience that I'm tapping into needs to hear. So, and that's how EI, exponential intelligence, actually works. It just brings in the information that you may need to hear. So why does society breed in distortion, or incompleteness, or insecurities? There are many, many reasons, but one of the main reasons that society, say, tends to create the same mistakes over and over again. If you look at societies today, right, no matter how advanced they are, right, technologically advanced, or even, we might push ourselves or pull ourselves, or distinguish ourselves from barbarians, but are we that far advanced? We've just gotten, say, better technological tools to, say, create more harm or distortion, or control individuals. So we do it faster and better. Okay, so that's a sign of a society that's not, say, as awakened as it should be. Okay? So with that being said, and wrapping it back into purpose. So, what is our purpose then? Is purpose creating more machinery, more tools, more technology to what control us? And that's why, although we're technologically advanced, are we moving away from our purpose? That's one thing to ask of ourselves, right? Or is the purpose for us to get so entwined in the distortions of who we think we are, that we get so far off track that something drastic has to happen for us to awaken and then get put back on purpose. So let's go ahead and take a nice strong deep breath in. As we settle in and go back to that question when I talked, why does society create distortions? Because in today's society, one, we die incorrectly, and then two, we are born and we are raised incorrectly. So let me talk about that, and then we'll understand the higher level of consciousness of what purpose is about, and how we're born, in, and how we should die, really defines what we think our purpose is about. Okay? So let's let me finish why I say that we die incorrectly. Okay? Because the process of death is very intriguing. Many of us shy away from it in advanced societies. We do everything. I think it's part of the doctor's creed, right? You do everything that you can to save somebody's life, no matter how old they are. But we all know that we all need to die sometime. So why does postponing somebody's life? What is the purpose of postponing somebody's death, just for a later event that might happen shortly? So that purpose of, say, creating life for an individual, Is it really necessary? Is it beneficial for today's society? Although in the medical society, that's their purpose. So again, we go back to what's our purpose? What's our true purpose? Now, coming from, say, a loved relationship, again, what we do is that we have that purpose. We have that individual, no matter how degraded they are, no matter how distorted they are, no matter how sick they are, what we want to keep them around. Again, so our purpose gets distorted again. It gets skewed by the irrational emotions, and I did say irrational emotions that we have about death because we don't understand it at a deeper level. So I'm not going to get into the details of death or all, say, the steps to have an awakened death, but just to summarize. Death should be a process. And back in the olden days, they actually say uh, helped you awaken. There was individuals who helped you prepare for death before you crossed over. Okay? And even though it might have been off, even though they might have said, well, you prepare, you got to wash yourself, you got to do this, you got to pay the gods, whatever. Again, they prepared, they knew that they were going to die. Today's society, people don't know that they're dying, right? Because again, of what I explained earlier. And most of the time, sadly to say, we're too drugged up because of the pain or whatever that, again, we don't even know that, uh, people don't even know that they've died. So again, so a lot of distortions come right through there. So what happens is that those distortions, unfortunately, uh, from an EI perspective, and whether you believe in whether your religion believes in it or not, or whether you believe in uh, life after death and so on, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. Kind of like gravity, right? Whether you believe it or not, it still has an effect on you. Okay, and I've seen enough cases where I can confidently say that this is exactly what happens. Okay, especially with the abilities that I have. So so what happens is that somebody dies not awakened, right? The misconceptions of this life that they had, they get locked in, just like a computer program, a memory, right? That SIM card basically gets pulled out of your physical form. Okay? It kind of reminds me of Altered Carbon, if you ever watched. I think it was a Netflix original. Very good movie. But anyway, that SIM card or that memory of who you are gets pulled out of your physical form. The Altered Carbon, they called it sleeves. Pulls it out, and then it just kind of hangs out. Okay? Your spirit, think of it as your spirit, that SIM card. Okay? That spirit still thinks that the distortion that you ran in this lifetime is still part of it. Okay? We didn't awaken. We didn't disconnect from it. So we're still stuck in, say, a space-time identity or consciousness. Okay? Somehow we get recreated. Right? We get recreated into the same family or the same spiritual family, and then what happens? As soon as that SIM card gets, say, plugged in to a new physical body, or again an altered carbon, another sleeve, well, the same patterns, not the same experiences, although sometimes that happen. The same experiences happen, right? Or the same patterns of experiences start to happen in that individual. So lifetime after lifetime, those distortions add up. Right? Lineage, family lineage. If you don't like lifetime after lifetime, if you don't like reincarnation, think of it as so generation after generation after generation. What do we experience? The same, say, issues of non-awakened states. So that's why I say that we die incorrectly. So in that case, the dying process, again, our purpose of why we're here gets skewed. And then, well, we have a chance to rectify that in our early years. So through the process, again, parents not awakened, what happens is, we're we're in somebody else's body, the mother's body, for 9 months, right? Those are the opportune times where we really connect with ourselves, or where the mother should actually connect, the mother and father should actually connect with the growing baby, and resonate with frequencies that are of harmonious, or say of the earth frequencies. Okay? But how many people do that? So again, gets distorted. Our purpose gets skewed again right from the get-go. It was skewed before we came into space-time, or before we came into that single cell, time-stamped, and now, we have a chance to clean up, and we don't. Right? We solidify basically the distortions of our environment, hence mostly our mother, and what she's going through. We get born. So we've got about 6-7 years to again figure out what's ours, what's not ours, what we should hold on to from that family lineage, and what we shouldn't. But unfortunately, again, parents not being, say, the awakened, and I'm not cutting down anybody. It's just something that is, right? If you look at your parents, they probably did the best that they could, and some of you may not agree with it. But overall, parents do the best that they can from what they know. So in these formative years, 1 through about 6-7 years of age, what we're supposed to be doing to our kids, because kids know right off the bat, they come from an identity of no space-time, no time at all. They're eternal beings. Okay? That still is fresh within them. And then they get entangled in the identity of who they are now as a young child, right? Space-time being. So that separation is still there for them. They haven't gelled together. They haven't been one. They haven't, say, conformed into a oneness yet. So this is a great opportunity again for us to, say, let go and separate from those distortions that come time and time again, generation after generation. But again, our parents are not awakened enough to go, you know what, I made some mistakes, right? You're probably running the same patterns, just the way that you got my hair color, my eye color, my nose and all that. I have some of the distorted patterns that we run in our generation. You shouldn't run these patterns, right? But we've got too much ego involved, right? Because parents always have to be right. So with that in mind, right, the formative years, and this is where a lot of the distortions in kids come, by the way. Right? The kids know what's right, but then in our environment, it says something else, right? And then time and time and time again, we know something's going wrong, right? But then our environment says something else. So what happens is like, well, hell with it. My parents know what's going on. I look at our environment. They must know what's going on because they've been here longer than I have, right? I'm just a little kid. This must be the way. And then that leads us to how we define purpose in today's society. So with that in mind, just think of, say, the purpose that we have in our lives. Most of the purpose, again, very skewed compared to what we're really here for. And I'll tell you what we're really here for very shortly. And it's very different than whatever that you may think. Right? So we grow up, right? Our first purpose, because we take short-term purposes, our first purpose is, to go, know the language, go to school, right? And get a job, get married, right? Those are all purposes. Nobody ever thinks of them as purposes. Most of us think, well, what's your purpose? And then you have this big, huge goal that's supposed to save humanity and so on. That's what most people think. But then look at most people's lives. Do those lives actually save humanity? Or do we wither away? And again, I ask these questions from the love from my heart. Okay? Not to be cold or anything like that, but just look at the statistics. Look at your parents. Look at the older individuals around you. Did they live their purpose? And then many of us think, well, our purpose is, something's supposed to be grand, just like I said, right? That's what. And then what happens is that, well, we get older and then we don't live grandness, and then we feel shortchanged, or we look around, right? And we don't feel as complete. Most of us, through the religions that we uh, prey upon, or we should say, the religions prey upon us, and it's not a pun. It literally, well, it is a pun, but it preys. Literally, religion preys upon human form. And I'm not knocking religion down, by the way, but the way many of us um, practice our religions gets you nowhere. It doesn't get you anywhere close to the creators of those religions. So, if your life is not as fruitful as the creator, then obviously you're just doing something wrong. So, um, don't think I'm a bad guy for knocking your religion down. Just look at the proof in your life. That's another aside as well. And again, if you want to ask me about questions, some of the tough questions and stuff, if it disturbs you, I'm glad to answer it. I love tough questions. Moss.ei at mossei.com. Okay. Getting back to our purpose, again, in religious aspects, what happens is that our purpose is to be a good person so we can awaken, right? And then understand God better. It never works out that way. In most religions, we never feel that we're good enough to be in front of God. So again, most of us think that we're a bad, so-called bad individual. So we didn't even reach our purpose at that level. And then there's purposes of, great technologies coming out, moving humankind forward, and so on. Where does that fit into the picture? And that's a great question. Um, so is our purpose, and we should ask, well, why are we creating those technologies or those inventions? Why did those individuals create the inventions that they did? Fortunately, many of them, their purpose was to win a war. Most of the technology that we use in modern day, from the computer to the highways that we drive on, to the motor vehicles and so on, was because of war. So, what was the purpose? So, the point I'm trying to make is that if the underlying purpose that we created these inventions and that we live in luxury, okay, or comfort, was the underlying purpose was to not really help humankind or mankind, but to win a war. So what happens there, okay? And whether you're on the good side or the bad side, there's so much history that gets hidden away. The real reason why, or who the good guy is or the bad guy is not really clear. Okay? No one knows why wars really, really start. There's always a hidden agenda or a hidden purpose to that. Although some of us think, well, we're the good guys, but everybody thinks that they're the good guys, right? It never goes, oh, we're the bad guys. But obviously there's only one truth. Coming back to the inventions or the creations of today's society, most of it, again, through wars, and in this scenario, the frequencies of that purpose, right, to win a war, using that technology. And now we use it, the common everyday technologies. The purpose or the frequencies of war still say resonates in the machinery, the technology that we use today. So it distorts every time we use the technology. I'm not saying you walk away from the technology and go back to your caveman days. Not at all. However, now that we're mindful or awakened, we can purify, say, that intention of why that technology was created and repurpose it. Okay? We've repurposed it at a physical level, but if you've followed my work, okay, the physical level is only 1%, the 99%, the underlyings in the iceberg, right? Only about a small percentage floats on top. It's huge underneath the 99%. The underlying purpose still exists. If you look at today's society, that's why there's a lot of chaos. So again, purposes get distorted. And many of us have many purposes. Your purpose to get married, your purpose to have children. So what's the purpose to have children? For most individuals, well, not most individuals, but let's just say a good number of individuals. Many individuals want to have children for the purpose of keeping a relationship together. It's not a good purpose. So again, unfortunately, that child comes into this world, and if that was its purpose, that frequency resonates in that child of a distorted relationship. So what does that mean? That means that that child is running distorted relationship patterns, which means it's a distortion of itself, of their self. So imagine that perpetuates, again, generation after generation after generation. So many individuals, again, have many purposes. And yes, it does advance society. We're a lot different than what we were, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. There's a lot of advancements that have happened, right? But if you look at humanity overall, we haven't really advanced at a spiritual level that much. In fact, we've kind of moved away. We've moved away from our real purpose in today's societies. Right? We're less inclined to, say, really believe in ourselves. Although many individuals who do great things, the number one key element is that they believe in themselves. Although we walk away as a society because we're too refined, right? We need to have some scientific evidence or scientific proof that something is there before we believe it. So we've lost all, say, vision of what our true purpose is. We've really skewed or gone off the path quite a bit. Although we're more technologically advanced, we're more comfortable than ever. guess you could say. But again, overall, as a society, most of us have lost our purpose. Right? Our purpose is, well, we want to be successful. We don't even know what being successful means. People go, well, yeah, I do, right? I see a lot of these Instagram pages, people being success motivation, billionaire, whatever, and so on and so on. And they just, picture after picture, cars, beautiful women, this and that. But many of those individuals have those things. And then if that was your purpose, well, for most, for science sake, or to fill that equation, purpose should equal happiness, right? Or I guess maybe that's incorrect as I say that. Some purpose is revenge and so on, which I guess equates to happiness afterwards, after you get your revenge. So again, I guess that's true. Purpose does say equal happiness or completeness. But again, if that's a false purpose because it doesn't really make you happy, I see it over and over again. Tons of millionaires, billionaires, a few of them that I've worked with, still have the same issues as anybody else. So what was their purpose? So in essence, their purpose failed, although they're successful. In fact, they're further away from their purpose because now they see that gap of who they really are, who they think they are through their identity of material wealth or possessions is even more skewed, or there's a huge gap between the two now. So, by the way, if you're poor, don't think you're any better off or medium income. You're just the opposite. You're just as far off as that individual who's wealthy. Okay? You're no better because you're off your purpose. If you're in lack, you are not on purpose. So, hopefully this has given you like a deeper understanding of what our real purpose is. Our real purpose here today and every day since the dawn of time. And again, the dawn of time, not the dawn of man. Since the dawn of time, our purpose has been to clarify who we are in physical form, in space-time. Our purpose is to, say, reflect who we are from a physical platform to reflect our purest essence of who we are. So that mirror image, the reflection of who we are at spirit level, should be a perfect representation of who we are physical level. So what that means is like if you're standing in front of the mirror, right, you get to see the true beauty of who you are, the true completeness of who you are, without any distortions, without any lack, without any disease, without anything that resembles who you think you are in physical form. That's your one and only purpose. Your purpose is not to save the whales, not to make $1 million, not to help your kids, not to do anything like that. Although those are great things to do. I'm not saying you should move away from anything like that. But what happens is that individuals go towards those things, helping people out, creating inventions, making money, so on and so on, to think that they're on purpose. And it gets them further apart. And that's why nothing, say, satisfies us in physical form. It's like we get the goal that we want. We accomplish our desires and so on, and then we feel emptier than ever before. Your true purpose is to identify who you are. Again, like I said earlier, who you are, the strongest reflection of who you are in physical form, that reflection of who you are at spirit level in physical form. That oneness, that is your purpose. To become completely one, not operating from a 1% level of who you think you are in physical form, but operating at 100% level in body and spirit as a oneness. If you focused on that one purpose from day one, if your parents helped you focus on right off the bat, as soon as you were born, right? Well, how do you communicate? Babies communicate very well, well beyond, say, the written word or the spoken word. If your parents were awakened enough, so strongly, to understand what your purpose is right from the get-go, right? In the mom's tummy, she resonated with that frequency. Again, you're born, you understand what your purpose is. Imagine the type of society this would be if everybody knew that one single purpose. If we died understanding what our purpose was, imagine how enlightened it would be as we crossed over. Imagine how we could really, say, define or understand God at a higher level, or pure source at a much higher level, if we knew what that one purpose was. And then recreating ourselves again, right, in physical form. Right? It gets better and better, and we understand our purpose more and more. Imagine the society that we would have. Imagine the technological advancements that we would have that would go far beyond anything here. Without any distortions, without any corruptions, without any control, without any lack, without any oppression of any kind, destruction, distortions of not just physical, human form, the earth, animals, atmosphere, everything. We would be living in a much more highly technologically advanced society. If we knew that one purpose, if we knew what our real purpose is. And then all the other things that we do, right? Getting married, creating inventions, becoming successful, whatever it is, really, say, fulfills us completely because we're on track. And then having the experiential, physical experiences here helps us define or acknowledge that we're dead on. Let's go ahead and take a nice, strong, deep breath in. Just noticing where we are. Again, noticing the space around you. I'm going to go ahead and leave you in this space for as long as you wish. As long as you stay in this space, you'll be connected to the mastermind. And as always, notice what you notice. Notice the details of what you notice. And now that you know your purpose, stay on track.
For more information on my programs, please visit masajady.com. That's MASSAJADY.com.